All right, we're back. BarstoolBuddhas. I'm Jai.
Rip.
We've been gone for a couple of weeks, and when you tune in and look at this, you'll say, "Where are these guys going? Did you? Is this an LBGTQ bar? What do we got going here?" No, it's just the blue screen thing or green screen thing we're not going to use anymore. There's not enough physical space, depth, all the good physical bullshit you have to make it work. So we're going to look ugly in a natural surrounding without the green screen. We'll have to call Steve Spielberg when he's got a moment to come fix that.
Yeah.
But we'll change it again next week. We're going to put a black screen back there. You can see at the corner, one of them. Anyway, so it should look a little better. So, like I said, we didn't make one last week, and the last one was for the 4th, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So we didn't get any death threats after that one, so we decided we could go ahead and do another one. So, okay. So
we're still up and running.
Yeah. Remember to like, subscribe, notify us of anything, and give us some comments. Do whatever you do. We're on all the platforms, and
We get some good comments now.
we do get comments, and some of them we can actually repeat. So we're going to start right now. We got a lot of stuff today. So I went on a trip this week.
Where'd you go to?
I went to Long Island, and Long Island was interesting.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, it was. I like Long Island. The people out there, when you deal with them one-on-one, they're really great people, helpful, just like anywhere else.
But Westbury?
It was out. That was where I was staying, but I was working out towards Hicksville and all that. Never understood how you got a Hicksville in New York, but you got one. Nice place.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people there, and I enjoy working with them. But what was nice was they had some of the restrictions lifted for the COVID, and the people were out in restaurants, and it wasn't your normal New York dining experience, which is great food, by the way. But they're usually running at about a half speed more than me. Tense, anxious.
Always.
The service, what do you want? There's people waiting at the door,
Yeah, so what was it like this time?
It was great. Everybody was really nice, laid back. People were just like, you could just see it in their face. We got to come out again. We're on furlough from the prison. It's kind of like it was here when they lightened up things here.
Oh, yeah.
But it was great. But we're going to talk about the prison plane.
Oh, your plane flight.
Yeah, the plane.
Always interesting.
Oh, my God. So the mask thing is just getting out of control. It's just on and on and on and on and on. By the time you get there, you've heard it 70 times. One of the pilots actually said, well, yeah, you know about the mask thing. You've heard it 1,000 times. Please comply. That was the pilot.
He's sober. He's tired of it.
And then one of my flights, what was interesting is that one of the flight attendants says, well, this is a federal mandate. But as well, they've told us if you don't comply, we're going to lose our job.
Oh, my God.
Which is, pitting person against person is way different. Turning people on each other.
Yeah.
It's just like some of the stuff they're trying to do with the big tech stuff. They turn us against each other.
Oh, they're wanting people to report on their family members if they think they may be extremists of some sort. God knows what they're extreme about.
Yeah,
could be WWE or something, but they're extremists.
The Red Guard in China, the Hitler Youth, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you get a cookie if you get your sister hiked off by the Gestapo. You give you a cookie, and we'll give you another medal on your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
It's not quite that bad yet, and
That's how it creeps, though. It creeps in.
I don't want to equate anybody with any of those groups. I'm just saying those are the techniques, and they use them because they work.
Correct.
So, but I was thinking about this. Somebody must be really enjoying all of this in the air because they're all doing it and they're all complying. And it's like, oh my God. So I'm not thinking there's really got to be some masochism going on here. Somebody's enjoying this stuff.
BDSM Airlines?
Oh yeah. And some of this sadomasochists, some are enjoying making you enjoy all the pain. So it's just, it's the new Mile High Club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Don't destroy the bathroom. So just sit in your seat and enjoy it vicariously.
Right.
Yeah. It's just weird shit going on. But it's just like we used to think when we were young, we're going to put it to the man. Well, the man is in charge.
Oh, yeah.
And the man is embodied by the flight attendants. Not all of them. They're good people, and I know they're under huge pressure to do this. But it's amazing, and it is a measure of how serious the situation is that these folks in their job are expected to be policemen, basically, now. So it's interesting that they're defunding the police on the ground.
And they're putting them in the air.
But you got
Every flight attendant is an air marshal.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they even get on the plane anymore. So speaking of oppression and liberation and whatever not goes on, I want to talk a little bit about the Dems are missing the mark again. If you'll recall back when Mr. Obama was in office, they had the Arab Spring, right?
Yeah.
And Iran started to have some kind of internal revolt.
The Green Revolution, do you know what they called it?
I don't know what they call it over there, but we refused to help, and it collapsed, and a lot of people died.
Yep.
Well, what we're seeing in Cuba now is kind of a replay. The people are tired of the communist regime, and they're rising up. They're protesting in the street with American flags, screaming they want democracy. And our people in Congress, some of them, are backing the communist regime.
Yeah.
The BLM people have written a support letter about the communist regime. This is just insane. This is crazy. We used to lead the world in democracy. We used to support it everywhere. And now our own people are just dragging it through the gutter. People around the world are trying to get here and live here because of the democracy. People are having revolts to try to throw off the shackles of their oppressors, looking for our help. And the people that we call leaders, some of them, are absolutely just sticking it to people.
Well, these people that want socialism have never lived under socialism. I met a guy the other day. He was a truck driver. One of the hardest working guys I've run into recently. He came here 25 years ago from Venezuela, still has family and friends down there. He said, if this country doesn't wake up and get people back to work and get people stop thinking that the government will take care of all your problems, they have no clue. He said, we're going to be in really big trouble. And he was absolutely spot on in what he was saying.
Oh, absolutely. The people in Venezuela, from what I heard, were eating dog food and eating their dog. It was so bad. They and 20, 30 years ago, it was oh my gosh, it was a highly controlled country, but they had a lot. They were rich, oil rich, and they just went socialist, and it killed them. And so I don't know that they'll ever come back. They'll probably have some Chinese support trying to come back, and that's not going to be good. But
China has most of their oil rights now.
If you look what happens to a country in a course of years, how it changes from one to the other. Remember back, they had the Great Depression. Our parents talked about it, and they always told you got to have these values. You got to be self-reliant. You've got to work. You've got to have an ethic. You've got to treat other people. You got to get out there and help build something for yourself and the community. And that was the Great Depression. There were too many workers. They had signs that say, unemployed men keep working. Go away. We have no food. We have no work. There were no jobs. And then the government stepped in, and they created the WPA and the CCC that built most of our
national parks
and a lot of the bridges and stuff. And they gave people back their dignity, their self-respect, self-reliance, and they made a living. And it helped build this country back up from that depression. Now we're in the midst of the Great Oppression. Oh, yeah. There's too many jobs, no workers to fill those jobs because they're home worried about COVID or whatever. The government is now paying people not to work. Not to work. It's destroying.
It's creeping. It keeps creeping.
It's destroying the way we've done things here. Now, there are some things in this country that aren't right, and they need improvement. But if you kick out... it's like watching somebody get hung. They kick the chair out from under and they dangle till they die. And now you're seeing a slow motion version of this if this continues. And so we don't want to sound like doomsayers, but all you have to do is travel around to different places and see what's happening. And I'm not for saying that you shouldn't pay somebody unemployment. If I got unemployed, I'd really be thankful to get it.
It's always been a temporary solution, It's a stopgap measure, but it's not a for-long thing, and they're trying to make it permanent.
In the state of Tennessee, I think I heard a figure 3 or 4 weeks ago that there were 250,000 jobs unfilled and 168,000 people on unemployment. So that number, there's more work available than there are people to fill it because they're staying home. That's on its head. That's backwards. And what are those people doing at home? They're learning to be lazy. They don't want to work. I've heard some people saying, I'm never going back to serving. I'm never going back. Well, that's great. Upward mobility has always been a thing.
Do something different then.
Motivate yourself. But you know what? All you have to do is look at portions of the country where we have warehoused a lot of people for years by giving them a check every month to sit and do nothing. It's led to disastrous social consequences, dead-end lives for many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people over the course of years.
It's where most of the gun violence exists in the
It is not the way to go.
No.
So we'll let that stand. All you have to do, what we're telling you is this is our opinion. This is what we see. Go out. If you don't see it, tell us. Tell us some good stories.
Tell us something different.
Yeah. Show us where show us where the light's at. I would like to see it.
Yeah.
So So it's time for a genius of the week. Guess who it is?
It's always Joe Biden.
Well, he's a moron emeritus, but now he's in the genius category. This guy never fails to amaze me, and not really in great ways, but I'm amazed. Now he's apparently going to the United Nations to have them investigate systemic racism in the United States. Now, let me ask you, Rip, have you ever known of anything they've gotten involved with that ever went well?
No.
And he had any positive benefit?
Could somebody out there tell us anything the UN has ever done anything right?
Well, UNICEF worked for a lot of people, fed some people, whatever.
Yeah,
that was a good thing. But military, peacekeepers, all that stuff, it never really goes well. Keep them out of here. I don't need peacekeepers in Dallas, Texas from the United Nations. Yeah. And the other thing he's doing is he's apparently farming out censorship to the tech people.
Oh, yeah.
The government specifically, I think, prohibited from interfering with freedom of speech up to a point. Mm-hmm. And so he can't do it technically, so he's getting his boys over in tech to do it for him. I'm not a lawyer, thank God. But I think this kind of steps over the line in terms of constitutionality of it, whatever.
But they get away with it because they're private companies and they can set their parameters the way they want to, but he's co-opting them.
Well, the President of the United States shouldn't be able to legally to say, well, I want this banned, so I need you to do it for me. That, that's there's a word, piercing the veil, so to speak, of that law, that intent.
Right. Yeah.
So at any rate, what we're witnessing here, I think, is the journey from national sovereignty to national senility and servitude. And it's really coming quick, friends. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that. We'll just keep an eyeball on that one. But now we're on our favorite point, right?
Morons on the move.
This is the COVID stupid edition. We blame COVID for this, exacerbating existing conditions. As you well know, if you've ever driven in a car, there are all kind of drivers on the road, and somehow, usually, it kind of works out, except when it doesn't.
Yeah, tragic.
And that's usually the exception, hopefully. But now what we see is basically about three types of drivers. I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing the guys like you and me who were fortunate enough to have jobs during COVID and went to work every day.
Essential workers.
We did enjoy not having a lot of traffic, but our skill sets were kind of home. We kept those up. But you got other people who stayed home, and you got older people and
didn't get out for a year or more.
Who didn't get out, and their skills are rusty, and they're out there doing their 35 miles an hour going, I'm out of the house, thank God. I'm never going back. Where can we drive
That's
to?
fine. Stay in the right lane.
The town has an 8-mile strip. They go up and back. It takes all day. I'm not going home till the sun goes down. And they kind of getting in the way. And then you've got the other people.
Yeah, Ricky Bobby.
Oh my
NASCAR
God.
drivers.
NASCAR on Main Street. They're I've been on the interstate system, and it was in Knoxville over a way. 55 through town, right? They're doing 70, 75 every day anyway. And here comes these people going 85 with their lights on.
Since COVID, people are starting to drive like they do in Atlanta and Houston, where they're using 4 lanes to zoom in and out, doing 85 when everybody else is maybe around 60. I've been a road warrior. You have too, all our lives, always on the road. And this is the worst I've ever seen it. People are literally losing their mind on the road. And the thing
is, there's always been those folks that come up behind you and beep, get on your tail and want you to move, and you can move, whatever.
Yeah.
But with the driving while dead crowd, there's nowhere to go. Yeah. You're doing above speed limit, trying to move it on down the road. And these guys are they're hanging out the window, screaming at you, flipping you off, going
from the left lane, 4 lanes over to get around one vehicle to get back to the left lane.
I saw a guy in a Ford 350. This is the best truck on the road.
Big truck.
He went from the inside lane all the way to the pull-off lane on a 5-lane stretch of I-40 out here.
Yeah.
And to get back
all the way to the left. That's what I just said. I mean,
people going everywhere. Brake lights are on. Children crying, dogs wailing in the back seats. It was a nightmare. This is, I guess, it's to be expected. But who let the dogs out? Woof, it's insane.
We literally are living among the walking dead. There are plenty of them out there.
There are a few out there that are causing some problems. But anyway, be careful when you go out there. Stay safe. Try to be empathetic. There are people out there who haven't driven for a while, and give them some space.
Drive on the right, pass on the left.
Unless you're in England. And there's a few of those guys here too. I don't know what they're doing here. Anyway, so just remember, it's not NASCAR. They have tracks for that, you know. And if you want to park, you can pull off park anywhere. You don't have to park in the right lane.
I watched a guy the other day on the parkway. He was zooming in and out of traffic and everything and just running up on people's butts and kind of pushing them away and everything. When we got into town, we were at the same light together.
Yeah.
He almost caused about 3 accidents in about a 6-mile stretch. And then we got to the same red light together.
Unless you can go about 10 mile an hour average faster over a course of 200-300 miles, you're not going to pick up. You're not going to pick up. No,
nothing.
You're just going to get dead quicker. That's all.
Or kill somebody else.
So now it's time for
Book of the Week.
Book of the Week. And we usually have some pertinent Book of the Week. So we're going back to basics today. The religious text of your choice. Okay. And I know there's some agnostics, some atheists, some secular people who just don't give a shit. But you know what? Somewhere there's a value proposition that you live by. So we just chose this as a place to start. So what our goal is finding value in life beyond skin tone and above the belt, which seems like it's completely out of fashion. So we're going to talk about this for a minute. And hopefully we've crafted this in such a way it's not too offensive, because it's intended to be a thought piece. Maybe it's overly obvious. We're not Captain Obvious. He couldn't be here today. But this is close. This is close. This is Jai Obvious.
Yeah, Jai Obvious. That
so your homework assignment, if you choose to accept it, and you probably should, is pick any religion.
Any.
Find one that posits, if you can, that the spiritual worth of a person is determined by skin color. Find one that directs you to make sexual gender and identity your guiding light in the quest for understanding and equality. Please find it. Send me the notes. I believe you're going to find that these ideas are not on any prophet's list of how to become a good human being in the eyes of God or in the eyes of your fellow man.
Right.
Yeah. So while many philosophies and theologies may be less than perfect, and that'd be blasphemy to some groups, we want to be careful about that, most of them seek to raise us to a greater understanding of what it means to be human in an often confusing and dangerous world. The current trends in this country and society espouse equity and equality while creating the breeding ground for the exact opposite outcome. While it's deeply unfortunate that skin color and gender have served to divide and demean people throughout history, and it's time we got over that. And gender it's all to serve. It's been a bad thing. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it's more than unfortunate that now it appears that in the shallowness of identity politics, it threatens to destroy any hope of leaving such base distinctions behind.
Yeah.
The currency of crotch consciousness and skin color are false forms of social valuation. They're shallow and they're just, let it go. Okay. To adhere to them assures a continued bondage to ignorance and cultural deterioration. So if you have an argument about all that, I'm sure there's some depth in that. Like I said, this skims the top of it, but we're trying to identify the fact that anything we had as an authority, and we talked about the death of God and all that, what was going to roll in to take its place. I think we're dealing with some of those things that are vying for value systems now. And unfortunately, I don't think all of them are well thought out, and they're being pushed too hard, too fast for assimilation, for a really careful thought process, for a real raising of consciousness that will lead us to where we need to be. It's basically all reactionary and enforced.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to get real ugly if we don't change.
Just identity politics being shoved down our throat.
You know, we all have an objective identity, although the postmodernist philosophy says that, no, it's just all subjective. You are what you think you are and all that. Well, you know, you can be that in your own space. Yeah. But stand out in the street and tell a Big Mac truck that you're impervious to its 60-mile-an-hour forward trajectory, and you're going to find out what subjective really means.
Yeah. Laws of physics. Laws
of physics will tear your butt right up, boy. Let me tell you. So coming to this last piece, we always try to have a little humor here. So this may, in fact, piss some people off, but we're going to read something that we saw on the internet. And it wasn't copyrighted, so I can't give an attribution to anybody that did it. It didn't seem to be a copyright on it. So I'm going to declare fair use because it was just a post. It was a post on somebody's Facebook page.
Yeah.
But it's entitled, "Just So We're Clear." I never cared that you were gay or transsexual until you started shoving it down my throat.
That's just not right.
You next.
I never cared what color you were until you started blaming me for your personal problems.
Absolutely. I never cared about your political affiliation until you started condemning me for mine.
I really never cared where you were born till you wanted to erase my history and blame my ancestors for your life failures.
Yep. I never cared about your belief that they were different than mine until you said my beliefs were wrong.
Oh, gosh. Now I care. My patience and tolerance are gone, and I am not alone in feeling like this.
Absolutely. Just know that there are tens, if not hundreds of millions of people who feel the same way and may disagree with you on any number of points. But it's only by having a discourse that we can actually
civil discourse.
Well, I don't know about using the word civil anymore. I
think
it's rarer than
when did they
freedom.
quit teaching civics to begin with?
I don't know. But the thing is, this is a little humor, and we don't mean to downplay some of these real issues that are embedded in all this. But if we stand behind the barricades and throw rocks at each other over these, we will never sit down at a table and figure it out. And if we don't do that, it's only going to get worse. And all you have to do is look whatever provider you have for what passes to be news, no matter what channel you view and what side you're on, it all appears to be getting worse. And getting worse is a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's going to impact you no matter what your beliefs are. It's like the old story about what was the goose that laid the golden eggs?
Right.
You guys probably all know that. But the golden eggs stopped the minute they cut the goose open to find all of them at once.
Right.
And so that's what the U.S. basically means to a lot of people. It is a source of gold, economically, spiritually, politically, freedom-wise, and has been a beacon for years, even with all its flaws and warts. Yeah. But if you're not careful, you're going to kill this whole system, and you won't have what you want simply by burning it down. What you'll have is something burnt out and useless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So be a patriot, be a person, as the Jewish people say, be a mensch, be a good person. Get out here and try to do good. Try to see the other person's viewpoint and try to see their viewpoint. And maybe somewhere in all that mix, one fine, bright, sunny morning, someone will have an idea that works for us all, and we can share it. Okay. You got anything else?
That's good.
All right. We'll see you next time. We'll have a different background or not.
Hard out.
And we'll see you then.